June 2nd, 1959, near the Red Church along what is now Route 61, a collision caused a truck carrying a propane tank to catch fire, eventually exploding and killing 10 people instantly. A week later, an 11th died from injuries.
June 2nd, it was a typical school day for me.
First thing you noticed was the big flash on the bus.
Now you think of it always, especially when you look at the steeple, as to how crooked it is.
Now you got to realize that when this happened, people ran for their lives. And that's why I'm trying to piece together all the little pieces of the puzzle to try to get a good picture of it.
A local history buff, Dean Myers, who lost his uncle Arthur Myers in the crash, has been researching the accident since March.
What do you remember?
Well, I don't remember much about waking up, but I mean, it was a rainy day.
Mark Schropp, a sophomore in high school at the time, was riding a school bus in front of the accident.
We had stopped to pick up the Marilyn Herb there, and I got on our bus. And she had already got on the bus when there was a boom, and then this terrible, loud, roaring noise and brightness in the bus. And I stood up and in my seat area, and I opened the window. I was sitting in the window side, opened the window and stuck my head out, but the noise was that bad, was that loud, and it was that hot that I quick shut the window again and sat back down, because it was just like looking into the sun.
The state trooper received his call to report to the scene at 8:15. That's what he was told, respond to the scene, because you figure someone had to get a hold of a passing motorist, and they drove into town to turn the alarm in. See, no one had cell phones, there was no 911 to call. You know, 1959 technology, there was no pagers for the firemen, a siren blew in town, and people came to the station and went.
We never imagined that it was going to blow up. We just figured it was going to burn out, and that's what the fire companies actually thought. They just leave it burn out.
For burning for nearly 45 minutes, the heat built up so much pressure in the tank that it finally ripped open in the back and let loose at 8:45.
My uncle was on the fire truck. He's dead now. But he said he had just gone back to check the hose in the well. They were pumping out of the well there at the house. And when the thing took off, and he just saw this ball of fire going up toward the Red Church.
Dr. Peter Yasenchik was a principal at the Auburn School. He recalls his experience of taking home 4th grade student Mary Lou Wessner, where she found out the news that her father, Robert Wessner, was killed in the accident.
And I took her home, and Mrs. Meck went with me. And in taking her home, we went sort of the back road, not the same way the school bus. And when we got to the house, a term I'll never forget, because this young lady ran through the house, and she came down and she said, "That's funny, Daddy's not here, because he doesn't work when it rains." And of course it was a rainy day.
Leon Kimmel, a farmer who lived and worked a half-mile north of the scene, was one of the victims of the tragedy. His daughter Carol recalls the events of that day.
Well, I got on the school bus like normal. The school bus picked me up in front of my house. My mom and dad owned the farm that was across from the Deer Lake Drive-In at that time. At one time my father owned both sides of the, actually owned the property where the Deer Lake Drive-In was also, and had sold that to them back in 1955. So the Deer Lake Drive-In at that point in time was a popular place because it was relatively new for our area. And I got on the school bus that morning as usual. It's heading toward the end of school, and bus picked me up, like I said, outside the door. Went to Auburn to 8th grade, and really all I know about that morning is my aunt picked me up. I had just had lunch. My aunt came to school for me. I had been downstairs in the cafeteria, and they had me come up, that I was wanted upstairs, and I was eating a blueberry twinsicle.
Jeff, line 2.
And my Aunt Helen was there for me. And I wondered why my Aunt Helen was there for me, because my Aunt Helen had no children. Aunt Helen Clauser lived in Auburn. I wondered why she was there, because she kind of wasn't my favorite aunt, and not real close with my mother. wondering why Aunt Helen was picking me up at school. That was something that would not have normally happened. And then she told me that I needed to go. She needed to take me home. I needed to be really brave because my father had been killed.
After an investigation by the National Fire Protection Association, it was found that the explosion could have been averted if the firefighters at the scene applied water to the flaming cargo tank instead of the nearby home.
It's 50 years, I realize that, but 50 years ago I lost my dad.